Hey Brian, welcome back. It's 2024 and it's time to say Happy New Year, or even though January is already over. How have you been and what's new at Super7?
What do you mean what's new at Super7? Come on. Why are you talking to me? You're talking to me because we got ThunderCats. We're
Yes, of
delivering
course.
ThunderCats. We're offering ThunderCats. It's all about ThunderCats. That's the only time you talk to me, Eggman. Come on.
Well, we've got some SilverHawks that's coming up in the future, and in the next year or so, we've got some TigerSharks coming, but we'll get to that later. Um,
Yep.
I just wanted to check with you. I'm going back just a few weeks now. This past festive season, you had some nice different offerings with some bundles and stuff with some lovely discounts that you could get some nice figures with. I also helped myself to some. Um, is this something that you are going to implement yearly to draw in some more festive sales and things like that?
Um, a lot of those marketing initiatives are more, obviously around Christmas time, there's a lot that happens. Um, we just announced $7 flat shipping, so that's sort of a new thing for domestic purchases, which is a big, big deal. So, that's really the big thing that we have going forward into this year. Some of those other, things were more in the spirit of Christmas,
Okay.
rounding out the year, trying to make it easy for everybody. Now we're back to normal.
Yes, when we've got lots to do because this year we are kicking off 2024 with Wave 10 ThunderCats. And this assortment is giving us 4 characters that we've never had before in any shape before. So, I mean, we've got versions of characters that I actually never expected to see. Tell us about the decision making to compile this group of what we might call deep cuts.
Well, I don't know, it's the same thing. Like we've talked before about how, you know, there seems to be a near insatiable demand on Lion-O. Lion-O and Mumra especially really drive the line. Not that we don't love everybody equally, but we all know who the stars are, right?
Yes.
It's the same thing. It's like, how do I, in some cases with this line list, it's how do I bring a Lion-O to you guys that's something you don't have, something that's completely different and that you will want. Because sometimes it's like, I don't need that. Uh, and it was just like, oh, like no one's gone down the route of young Lion-O, and that's an important part of the whole mythology within, Thundercats. So
Mhm.
that was a really great way to be able to come back to Lion-O and not have it be a repaint, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
We had young Lion-O, then we had Dream Master Mumra. Obviously, it's it's been a while since we've come back and done something with the full-size Mumra. It's an amazing figure. It's another one where people ask me a lot, like, when's my next Mumra? When's my next Mumra? When's my next Mumra? And so, how do we do that where it's really cool? And if you're really into everything, you're like, okay, hey, here's something I don't have. Here's something that's interesting to me. But it's also not necessary for everyone. But I do think that it is unique, especially in its application and how it comes out, like we've seen with the Invisible Tigra and everything. So it was that one was super cool. Obviously with Snarfer, uh, we've got Snarf and Snarfer. So, we need to extend the family. And Quick Pick was just that's our deep cut for the wave. That's the one where it's like, all right, who do we want to make? What's going to catch everyone off guard? Because it's on no one's list. There's not a list out there that had Quick Pick coming out this wave. And that's the
No,
fun of it all. Such a great
exactly.
character.
No, that's the thing. I mean, I would not have expected to see Quick Pick because that's a character that he's a well-known character for diehard Thundercats fans. So we know of this guy, but I never thought that he would even come before Cloudus or Jagara or some more famous Thundercats. So that was
Well,
like,
see, that
well, we've
tells you
got
how
it.
many more famous Thundercats we still have to go, right? Oh, if they
Yes.
haven't even got there yet and they've gotten there, then I know we're going to get these at some point.
That's the thing. You've got such a rich history of characters to choose from. So it's important to keep this relatable and exciting. So what you've done here with young Lino and Mamara is rather surprising.
Yeah, and you know, it's trying to balance out that wave where you're what we don't want the line to do, and I realize this is wave 10, but it's like here's a bunch of really good guys in wave 1, 2, and 3, and now no one cares about what's in 4, 5, and 6, so the line is over. It's like we're constantly trying to keep it a mix of really high visible characters and then deeper cuts, but as a whole, they all kind of work together and the line just keeps expanding. It's about the all of it, not about just this.
That's exactly something that you mentioned a while back. You'll see, you said we'll see that there's some odd character choices that we might not understand immediately, but when we get down the line for a few waves later on, we'll get that bigger picture. Is this wave part of that?
Yeah, it's always part of that. Okay. The amount of hand wringing and what if this is here and put this one here and move this one here and move that one here. That's a constant it's a constant struggle is not the right word, but you know what I'm trying to say. We're constantly working on.
So you teased earlier that you basically you plan ahead a couple of waves and then you focus on one, but you do take everything into consideration and then shuffle things around whatever works for you for that specific wave, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think we've discussed this before that we're scripted through 14 right now. So while you're seeing wave 10, we're working on 11 and 12 actively. And then we've scripted 13 and 14. Okay.
So which year is that? Would that be for the end of this year or probably for release for next year?
Most of the time, I think, we try to do 3 a year.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So by the end of next year, we should probably see all of this that you're working on now. Hopefully.
We'll see. Hopefully.
Okay. Going back to young Lionel. He's got a specific accessory there, and that is that stand for the Sword of Omens. That is something that is extremely iconic. I mean, I remember it not just from the cartoon, but I had that Panini sticker book, and I was like reading that thing for years and years, even after I stopped watching the toon. That thing is something that's so iconic, and the thing is, there's so many different accessories or items in the cartoon that you can choose from. I mean, there's a plethora of them. How difficult is it for you to actually go, okay, this will work or that will work? I mean, there's too much to choose from, isn't there?
Well, there oftentimes is too much to choose from, but once again, we sort of filter that into what do we want to have? What do we think makes the most compelling figure or assortment of accessories? And I don't know. I think it's one of those things where sometimes you forget about something or you think, oh, is that too weird? And it's like, wait, let's take a step back. In presenting this as a toy, how is this going to come together? And like, oh, you use the stand for the Sword of Omens. Now all of a sudden it's 10 times more impressive than maybe if it was another accessory. So we just really try to look at that and go, what does that figure need? So even if you're not collecting everything, when you get that one, the experience is pretty rounded out.
Okay. Talking about choosing between accessories, we've touched on this before. That call signal of the Thundercats that comes from the Sword of Omens. Obviously, this was an opportunity to include it here, but is that something that you have decided to rather step back or include somewhere later with a deluxe version of a liner or maybe with a weapons pack or something, or is that just something that's too heavy to produce? Because that thing does look like, okay, I can see your shrugging. So okay, that's fine. Thanks.
I might not be able to answer that question at this time, Egmont.
Okay, that's all right. That's fine. Let's move on to Snarfer. I'll leave it there. It's fine. We've got 2 Thundercats in this wave. Now, I did a poll the other day. And there was never even the thought of having 2 Thundercats in the wave, but we've got 2 here. And this pairing is like a natural selection. It just works together. Was there somebody that was fighting for Snarfer to be included in this wave, or was there somebody going, no, he shouldn't be here?
No, I think that, you know, there's some of this as we talk about line planning and the same thing. It's like, well, you can't do Snarfer until after you do Snarf. And I want to make sure people get Snarf in hand before I do Snarfer. So part of it was simply waiting for it. And then thematically, is there a good tie with other characters? So ultimately where Snarfer landed up was, okay, he ties in well with one of these other characters, and it's coming out after you've got Snarf in hand. That's the ideal scenario for when that figure comes out.
Okay, so was that on purpose to, once we had the Snarf in hand, that we'd actually understand this, how this figure works, and actually then see, okay, this is how this thing feels in hand. So this is always what a Snarf is going to be like.
Yeah, because if I tried to sell you Snarfer before you've gotten Snarf, you're just be like, I don't even have Snarf. Why are you trying to sell me Snarfer? Like, okay, like I need give me this one first, then we can decide if I need or feel like I want that character. Because you may not decide that you need it, which is fine. But asking you to go on faith for two of them seems a little disingenuous.
Okay, that makes sense. Now with Snarfer, he has this helmeted head that is obviously everything is straight from the toon, but even the solicitations had him in his spaceship. I mean, you've got that spray bottle that he's got there. That is like so typically from the cartoon. Was that just a design choice to have him featured in that promotional still with a spaceship, or is there a tease for a little spaceship?
It's not a tease at this time. Right now, it was just more like, you know, where should he be? Where is his correct environments? Like, what are you expecting to see with him? So I've been surprised at the amount of people that are like, oh, I would love to get his spaceship. That makes me think about it. Maybe there is a place for it in the future. It's not in the line plan at this time, but you know, the more people are like, oh no, I actually do want that. It's like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Let's see how Snarfer does, and maybe there is a play there, maybe not. I'm not quite sure.
Okay. So he also comes with a set of restraints that actually belong to Rotaro. With obviously being Wave 7 coming out now, he actually captured Snarfer with those restraints. Do you ever sit and think about when items have been released, how the toy photographers are going to actually use this? And do you ever get to a moment where you see, my goodness, this actually came out so fantastic that we make this? Are you ever surprised by what you see, what the actual collectors do with your product?
It's not so much that I'm surprised with what they do, because generally a lot of them do a lot of editorializing on their own, adding accessories and backgrounds that really elevate it beyond what we've done. So much of it is more like we kind of plan that stuff out and we think about it. We're like, oh, if you do this, if you've got that guy, like it builds. And sometimes you're like, oh man, we just did 1 + 1 = 3. That's so cool. You know, high five, woo, you know. But you know, when you really start talking about, you know, the photography nature of it, that's so much more personal. I don't think about it as, oh, if I do this, somebody's going to have a photo opportunity with this. I think about it from the toy side, which is if I do this, somebody's got a display, or if they have that figure, now they have more pieces that cross between the two to increase the play value, increase the posability, you know, not posability, but just, you know, displayability. It just creates more scenarios and more options for play.
Okay. Yeah, that's
And that
true.
ultimately, as you said, that begats the opportunity then for those toy photographers. But in so many ways, most of those toy photographers are already making stuff well beyond what we've made to make their dioramas and shoots look even better.
Well, the figures do photograph quite well. So I mean, so this Snarfer, he doesn't have a tail stand the way that Snarf does. He's got a gripping tail. Can he hold onto something with that gripping tail?
I can't remember. I'm gonna be honest. Like we specifically designed it that way for a reason, but I'm living several several releases down the way right now. I can't remember exactly what, you know. I'm coming up short for you, Eggman. I don't have the answers. The
That's
internet's going to crucify me.
That's okay. Tell me, Snarfer scale-wise versus Snarf. He is shorter in the cartoon. Is he going to be same body reuse, or is it a new sculpt for his torso section? Is it going to be the same size, or?
It's more or less the same size because it gets too short at a certain point. Like we've made some different things in here so that it feels a little bit smaller, but it's still about the same size.
Okay.
It's that same thing where you're trying to do relative scale versus actual scale and finding what is correct for a toy representation versus an analytical representation.
Okay. All right. So the Dream Master, he actually just like I said earlier, I was floored when that one was announced. A friend of mine sent me a photo of the Super Pack. That was the first thing I saw of Wave 10, and I was like, "What the hell is this Mumra?" I was like, "What is this?" I just couldn't place it. And then when I actually saw what it was, I was like, "What the?" And I was I could not. That is really something that I just never expected you to take from the cartoon and create. He's like awesome. Like I mean, this gives me. I'm shocked. I'm really shocked because that's not something that I expected to see. It's like,
well,
I mean, sure.
Translucent figures are always great.
Yes.
Let's be clear here. You make a figure and you put it in translucent, it already looks 10 times more awesome than the regular one. So when we were sitting here going through that, we've actually been holding on to Dream Master Mumra for quite some time, actually. And it's just like it'll look so badass in clear, and this is going to be so awesome with the tints and everything. And it finally became its time to shine.
But what I've heard some people say is it does feel like it could have been a convention exclusive, or
It's possible.
a separate release.
Yeah, because that's generally where we do some of that kind of stuff. And we actually did talk about it originally as a convention exclusive. Where we landed back on that figure and why it's in a wave per se is that we actually felt that the demand for that variant, if you will, it was higher than just a convention exclusive. Like if we made this as a convention exclusive that was kind of like, it's glow in the dark, the yellow running glow in the dark Chitara. Like we didn't look at that and said, you know what, every single buddy that collects ThunderCats is probably going to want that one. We're talking to a smaller group. That's why it looks great for conventions or DTC or event exclusives. And with the Dream Master Mumra, what we kept coming back to is like, this one might fall into the camp where everybody wants it. And so I don't want to artificially make it too hard for people to get. Does that make any sense?
Yes. So this figure, this was not obviously the upcoming surprise secret SDCC project that we were going to see. Okay.
Nope.
All right.
Nope.
Okay, good. Because
you just got to come to San Diego to find out my surprises.
I'd love to. So come on,
the box, it's not that long of a flight. It's only half the globe. Come on.
I'll have to sell my ThunderCats to come and visit, so I don't think so.
Let's not do that. Let's not get hasty.
No. So the box on this guy, it's very, very different than the others. It's not the standard box. It is just it fits in with the figure. That makes me just think like this could have been an exclusive, but it actually works. Is this something that you'll do with other such type of character releases in the future?
No, I think you kind of hit on it where in a lot of ways we're approaching this the way we would normally approach a convention or event exclusive, but yet it is part of the inline. Sort of it's we do a lot of that specialty packaging that fits in with the characters, like when we did Frozen Lion-O with the window with the ice and the frost and the snow on it and stuff like that. It's just that this figure kept kind of coming back to us as being like, no, I think that there's just a bigger audience for it. So if you were going to say, oh, it's part of the core line, it should be in an opaque black box, it kind of takes a little bit of the specialness away from the figure. So, every time you make a rule, obviously you have to make the exception. So he's a bit of the exception to the rule here. But it's like, what's the best version of that character? And the best version of that character is in that modified box. So let's roll with that here, even though it's not necessarily what we always do.
Okay, that makes sense. So with this Mumra, the cloak that he's got, that's not going to be like a see-through fabric, is it?
Oh yeah,
Going to be like, oh wow,
it'll
okay,
be
that's
translucent
fantastic.
fabric.
Okay, and will the cape have wire? So will it be? Can you pose it like the existing one, the original?
Yeah, that's the intent. That's the intent.
Okay. Okay.
You know, we have to get through the final sampling process with those kind of fabrics that will give us that translucency and what it is. But the intent is that it still has a wire so you can pose it.
Okay.
That wire is going to make that section obviously more opaque. So we're going to have to go back and forth with the final material choices and say, does it look better with or without? If I can include the wire, I will for functional reasons. But if the wire becomes too distracting for aesthetic reasons, then we will remove it.
Okay, makes sense. The fire effects on this guy. This is the first time that we finally have laser effects shooting from his fingers. Are they gonna be removable? Are they part of the sculpt of the hand?
I believe they're removable.
Okay.
Because you want to put them elsewhere, is that why?
Yes. Why not?
Yeah. Why not? Oh, I see. Exactly. So if I use, let me get this straight. If I get the blast effect from this guy, I can put him on this guy over here.
Well, I'm doing it over here, so it definitely works.
There you go.
That's the fun part. So
you just take the stuff off Mongor's horns and put it on there.
yes, you can. You can. Now we touched on Quick Pick earlier. You said that this guy was not on many wish lists, or well, it wasn't out there.
It's such a deep cut that I don't think
Yes.
that it's immediately where people go.
Yes,
And I think once you show it to them, I think people are still like, oh, I love that guy, but it's not always first of mind.
yes, that's what ties in with other characters. I mean, he and Mandora are a pair. They appeared in many episodes together. And there is something that that you mentioned earlier with this wave tying in with that wave. Do you often count on previous releases that you've had before, like Mandora, to give more background story to newer releases, like with Quick Pick? I did some posts where I basically paired the two together so that people could remember, because I showed Quick Pick to a friend of mine. It was like, and that's a nice looking green fellow, but I don't remember him, but he has seen the cartoon. So he's not as familiar, but does it help having something to fall back on to say, well, this guy actually was part of the story of Mandora and he appeared here and there as well?
Well, I think by the time we get to wave 10 and beyond, like for most part, people are like, I know ThunderCats. If you're still buying this, it's like, I know who, and sometimes it's like, oh, that's not one of the episodes I go back to, so I need to go back and look again sometimes. But it's not that we're reliant on Mandora or the Electrocharger or some of that to justify why Quick Pick is being made. I think Quick Pick's just a great character. The fact that he pairs with something you already have is great because, once again, it expands that display and playability, but it's not completely dependent upon that.
Okay, makes sense. Now, there was something that one of the guys behind the design of Quick Pick posted that was quite interesting. That wrench that came with Captain Cracker, it actually fits on the bolt on the shoulder of Quick Pick. So that really just shows you guys put so much love into the history diving of certain characters and then making them pair together with things that you'd never expect. What is all this, the conversations like? Is that something that you plan ahead? And then do you ever have things that you wish, man, I wish I could tell the public about this. This is going to blow their minds.
It's not that we don't not want to tell the public. I mean, you have to remember, like, we made that figure quite a long time ago. So when we're making this one and we start talking about all the things that we're doing, we're like, oh, this should happen, this should happen, this should happen, this should happen. And that's where in the ideation within the group, that's where stuff like that, where it comes back like, oh, the rent should fit because of this. And it's like, and then what happens more often is sometimes those little stories just, we get lost. And by the time it comes out, we're not thinking about those little side notes we made in the design process. We're like, oh, it's Quick Pick. He's from this scene. He's this tall. He got these accessories. This is what he comes back with. Not, oh, by the way, you can take this accessory from 2 years ago and use it on. That's just probably institutional brain loss on our side, getting all the storylines, because there are a bunch of those little things that happen throughout, like, oh, this can fit in Snarfer's mouth, but that came from that thing, came 3 waves ago. Like, we sometimes forget some of those little tiny things because as a large statement, they're very small, if you will, within the whole of what Quick Pick is. But it's really cool that all those things line up and that we are paying attention to them. It's just, yeah, I think that's more of an internal communication delay on our end.
Is there anything that you can remember that you can reveal that you would like to share?
Not at this time.
Okay, that's fine.
You're like, come on, set it up. Here we go. And I'm like,
no. It's okay.
Let's stay on target here.
It's fine. Tell me, with Quick Pick, that the silvery parts of his body, the metallic parts, is that going to be like shiny silver, the way that Captain Cracker silver is, or is that going to be more of a muted gray?
It'll be more like Captain Cracker. Like Captain Cracker is not high gloss; it's in between, so it still feels like it's correct for animation accurate coloring, but it still is metallic. It's a bit of like, it's a brighter metallic silver, but it's not dead matte and it's not super chrome either. It's that nice in between.
And he's got the cloak on. Is that going to be soft goods, or is that a lot more of a pliable plastic?
I'd have to go back and look. I don't remember. Like, I see now I come to the meetings completely unprepared, and I look like an idiot. I can't remember if it's soft goods or plastic. I think it's soft goods. I'm fairly certain it's soft goods, but you can't hold me to it yet.
No, it's fine. It's fine. We'll see. We'll see when it comes out.
Did we call it? Did we not call it out?
No.
In the product specs?
No, it does look kind of like plastic. So that's I was just asking if that, because the way that it forms part of the sculpt, it doesn't look like it's a fabric piece, but I don't know.
How about this? Why don't I double check with where we ended with this on sending it to the factory, and then we can send you a follow-up, and then you can just put up a graphic like Brian actually followed up and said this.
Yeah, we can do that. That's fine.
Okay. Here, I'll give you the space. There you go.
Okay, so with Wave 10, we've been treated with another super pack. This is the second one that we've seen. How did this go off last time? Well, the first time that this came out with Wave 9 for ThunderCats.
I mean, you'll basically see super packs more or less to every Ultimates release going forward, and it's obviously the thank you for ordering direct from Super7. And the reason it's super pack versus pack in exclusive is that way the figure that you're buying, whether you buy it from us or a partner, is still always the same thing. You're not getting less than. But if you order from us, you can get an additional bonus. So I think that's an important distinction versus like if it was a pack in the box and here's this, making it up, but like here's this extra head, and then the one I bought from so-and-so is missing that head, it feels like it's missing something and it's lesser than. The product is not lesser than from other people. That product is still the same, whether you buy it from me, buy it from Entertainment Earth or Big Bad Toy Store, wherever. But if you buy from me, you can also get these additional pieces. So it's an extra thank you for everyone that buys from us.
Okay, now
we appreciate it.
Yes. Definitely. So you know that how much we like ThunderCats with glow-in-the-dark eyes.
I do.
Was that ever an option to include young Lino with an alt head in the super pack, or with a normal release with glow-in-the-dark eyes, the way that he appeared in the very first episode when he picked up the sword?
I shouldn't be stumbling here. Let's just say at some point, obviously, we will come back to glowing eyes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. That's cool.
Like
Tell me.
it's not going to be, we're not going to re-release a figure with glowing eyes the same way you think about it. There's some different things. We know what the glowing eyes means and getting the call from the Sword of Omens and everything. So, there's places to go still. There's things to do.
Talking about that, that Wave 10 is really fantastic, but there's a lot of collectors that feel, where are my Lunatics and where are my Berserkers? Can you put these collectors at ease and that they don't have to worry about these factions and that they will be completed somewhere down the line?
It's sort of, it's the same thing. It's like a bunch of the other factions have been completed. Like, of course we're going to get all the Lunatics. Of course we're going to get all of them. Like, come on. It didn't happen this wave. That doesn't mean it's not going to happen next wave or the wave after that. Because I think anybody right now can see here, like, there's so many obvious characters they haven't gotten to. And you are correct. But if we also can look at our history with the line is we pace you through all those characters, you're going to get them, And I realize that individually, certain people will be like, I want him versus that. It's like, I would have much rather had another Berserker rather than Quick Pick. But it's like, you'll get your Berserker, don't worry. But you got Quick Pick for now too. Isn't that rad?
Yes. Okay, that's awesome. So tell me, with regards to the Lunatics, we've touched on this before. Luna and Amok, they should be paired together. Are they?
Yes, of course.
Are they too bulky together to be in a regular wave, or would they fit as their own mini wave?
I will put it this way. Luna and Amok will come together, and of course we're going to be making them. Now, when and where, this one's still up by Quick Pick, but yes, Luna and Amok are coming. When and where, that's still up for debate. But of course, how are you going to make Luna and not make Amok? And if you're going to make the Lunatics, how do you not have Lunatics? Sorry, because it sounded like I said Lunatics, but I didn't. I said Lunatics. But how are you going to have all of them if you don't have Luna?
Yes, of course. So tell me, we touched on the 2011 cartoon ThunderCats in one of our earlier discussions. There's a new ThunderCats on the horizon now with that new comic book that's coming out next month. Is that something that you are looking at? I know you mentioned there's still so many ThunderCats options to make from the original cartoon, but this is something that's new that just popped up the other day, and the character designs are very different.
I didn't know much about and let me rephrase it. I didn't know anything about that comic book till all of a sudden it popped up, and then it did crazy pre-order numbers, with all the a lot of variant covers and stuff like that, sort of that, I kind of, all right, how many actual comic books versus the guy that bought 5 of one, but we're open to all ThunderCats all the time. I think as fans, you want to do everything. So obviously, I haven't seen the comic yet. It's all news to us, just the way it is news to most everybody else. Maybe in time there is a play that crosses over. It's not in the line plan or anything now because, like I said, I think 6 times there in that last sentence. But I just learned about it just a few days ago.
Okay. Now, recently, Wave 7 started shipping out at the tail end of 2023, and this wave has been met with thunderous applause. I mean, this is really such an impressive wave. There's something that really stands out for me, and that's the little guy. That's Bushy. I mean, he's like freaking tiny. He's like this size, but the detail on that guy is so impressive. I mean, you can see the white dots on his eyes, and you can see his fingers. And for small characters, you would usually expect that the detail would get lost because it is so small. Are you sometimes surprised by when it comes out the final product and how good it actually does look when you have it in hand?
Well, I'm despite what the internet thinks, I'm trying not to make it crappy. You know, no, obviously we want everything to turn out well. And yeah, sometimes you're like, oh, this is really small. This is going to be tough, but that doesn't mean it's impossible by any stretch of the imagination.
So Bushi comes with Willa, and Willa has, well, she's human, of course, and the human skin has been a subject of discussion with some collectors, and that was a concern for some. But she has turned out fantastic, and it's really really brilliant. She does have a sister though, so her sister.
Oh, really?
Yes, she's got a sister, and she's got some girls working for her.
Oh,
So
oh, geez, never heard of them.
what I'm trying to say about that um, is how happy are you with how this the skin tone has come out with Willa, because that was a point of concern for some, but she's perfect.
I think it turned out really great. There's always people that have a difference of opinion. The funny part is they don't have the same difference of opinion usually on male skin tone. It's always the females. And there's I don't know, there's a bit of anytime you make a female character of any sort, the expectations that come in from the fans sometimes are one, much more varied, much more hot and cold than they would be on anyone else. So it's always a tricky version, and then we end up trying to make the version that we think is correct, which then always runs counter to somebody else's version. But I can guarantee you with every, look, of all the male action figures we've made in all of our lives, I've never heard one person ever talk to me about a crotch gap. Yet every single female figure we ever make, people want to talk about the crotch gap. And it's like, there's only so much we talk about that. And then at a certain point, you're in a place that maybe you shouldn't be.
Yeah,
and and so the female figures are always more difficult, and the opinions are much more varied and they're much wider. We try to make great representations of them as characters, the way they should look, and not to some degree an idealized version that is not accurate to the character itself.
yeah, that makes sense. So talking about difficult, I'm gonna move over to a much more difficult project that you've successfully launched last year, and that is the Cat Slayer. Do you have any update on Cat Slayer for us?
Just that we're working through it right now. Obviously, we're the end of January. Things are getting ready to shut down for Lunar New Year. But we're moving through it, and it's looking good. It's looking great. Hopefully we'll have images to share in a couple months where we can actually show people like, oh, here's test shots and here's things like that. We've still got quite a ways to go, but it'll come out later this year just as planned. Everything right now is perfectly on schedule, and it seems to be going very, very well.
Okay. Will we be able to see the box art anytime soon?
Actually, we're going through that right now. So we're still finalizing the box art. And whenever the box art is sort of done, we'll make it a point to share that socially.
Going a little bit
that's an exciting moment for a lot of people.
Yes, of course. I can just imagine. I mean, I've got my ThunderCats box, my Thunder Tank box displayed in my office. So it's a beautiful piece of art. I would like it against the wall, but it's such a nice box. So I'll have some Cat Slayer boxes next to it. What I wanted to check with you, something small, reaction figures, of course. Are we still on plan to release some more later this year?
Yes, we definitely are. We definitely have a few more. I want to say it's soon. Oh, this is where I have to leave Zoom and look at a calendar. Hold on. Hold on. May.
Awesome. Just around the corner.
Just around the corner. January is already done. February, March, April, May. 4 months from now. 3.5 months from now. More
Excellent.
ThunderCats reaction.
Awesome. Talking about the ThunderCats, they've got cousins, SilverHawks and TigerSharks, of course. Wave 4 SilverHawks is shipping any day now. The vac
shipping
metal
from the factory any day now. Yeah.
the vac metal was a concern.
Wait, hold on. I may have that wrong. I know I've got samples here, and it sometimes Silver 4 lands in March. So it's shipping out of the factory basically any day now. Yeah.
Okay. Are you happy with how the vac metal turned out? I know that was one point of concern for you.
Yes. I mean, obviously we spent a lot of time working on it, so it looks really good.
Okay. Copper Kid coming out any day or week now? With his
Copper Kid, SilverHawks. It's in February.
Awesome. Just around the corner.
Just around the corner.
And we'll see some other waves later in the year as well.
Yes.
Okay. And we touched on TigerSharks earlier, so we're still on track for that next year.
Yep.
It's an assumption, but the main character, Marco, he's going to be appearing in the first wave?
I don't know. Does anybody really want him?
Nah. So, you know that these three cartoons, there was the potential to have a Thunder Force, either a crossover cartoon or something episode like that. Once you've had all three of these out, is that something that you would consider doing, releasing like a 3-pack of all these three main heroes together because you've got them and that might be something people want?
It all will depend on, same thing. Is that something people would want, or do the people that want that already have those figures? That'll probably be where we go. It's like, if you've already got it, I don't need to just repackage it and resell it to you if it's not something you want. But if all of a sudden it was like, oh, if you did this, this, and this and repackaged them this way, I would want that, then I think that that's a different assumption. But I think we're getting a little ahead of ourselves since TigerSharks doesn't even happen until 25.
Yes. Okay, so I missed the belt question last time. So I just want to check with you before I miss out on anything that you get asked a lot and that people ask you. Is there something that you want to comment on that I haven't asked you yet?
No. There's been nothing lately. The belt one was a bunch where people were like, why is the belt there? And it was like, well, belt and no belt. Look at the history. And then it further separates your two Jagas. There hasn't been a lot of questions about this wave. People seem to be very excited about the wave. People seem to be happy with the figures, and as a whole, all good. Okay, which is great.
Fantastic. Yes. So you've got a lot going on. You've got Dungeons and Dragons that's also up for pre-order now. And it's like I said, it's Chinese New Year any minute now. So I'm not going to keep you much longer. Do you have any parting words?
Nothing. I just, thank you as always for everybody for supporting ThunderCats. I'm super excited. Like I said, we've got several waves scripted and stuff that's already sort of in process. I think all those kind of big, obvious questions and characters that you're like, where are the Burbles? Like, where's Luna and Amok and all that stuff? It's like, don't worry, they're coming. You're going to get them. So I think there's just so much more still to do in ThunderCats, and that's what's so exciting. I don't feel like we're sitting around going, well, I guess we make this. I don't know. Do you think anybody wants that? It's like we're still in the mode of like, oh man, there's so many good characters still to make. So that's super exciting. There's a lot to do in ThunderCats, and I think people will be pretty pumped on stuff. Like I said, I hate to keep teasing it, but the figure for San Diego is going to melt some brains. It's going to be awesome.
Can you tell us how much it will cost? 55?
I can't tell you anything.
Okay.
We're going to talk about that when we get closer to San Diego. I'm just building the hype now. This is the slow rollout, the tease. It's like,
okay, well, we're gonna
something big for ThunderCats, Comic-Con. Oh, What's it
we're
gonna
gonna
be?
end. We're gonna end on that note. Then, well, thank you so much, Brian. Thank you for taking the time out of your day. I know you're very busy, but it's always wonderful talking about ThunderCats and SilverHawks and soon TigerSharks. Take
Yes,
care.
definitely. Thank you very much, Eggman.